Reviving hell, Sanjiva. In the Buddhist cosmology, Sanjiva, or the reviving hell, serves as a stark allegory. It is depicted as a realm where beings undergo death repeatedly only to be revived and endure the suffering again. This repetitive cycle symbolizes the relentless nature of suffering that arises from persistent negative actions and the inability to escape the consequences of one's karma. The concept teaches about the persistence of suffering when one continues to engage in harmful deeds without learning from past mistakes. It stresses the importance of mindfulness and moral rectitude in breaking free from destructive cycles. By understanding that our actions have long-lasting effects, we can begin to make choices that lead to better outcomes, both for ourselves and for others. Black Line Hell, Kalasutra. The Black Line Hell is a realm where beings are marked with black lines and then dismembered along these markings. This vivid and gruesome imagery serves as a metaphor for the precision with which our actions determine our experiences. The black lines can be seen as the inevitable consequences that are drawn through our lives by our unethical actions. In a broader sense, this realm teaches about the inevitability and specificity of karmic results, how specific actions lead to specific outcomes. It underscores the importance of integrity and the careful consideration of our actions, as each decision draws a line that contributes to the pattern of our life's experiences. Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love. Crushing Hell, Samghata. In the crushing hell, beings are subjected to immense pressure and crushing forces in confined spaces. This realm metaphorically represents the overwhelming burden and constriction that come from the accumulation of negative karma. It reflects the emotional and psychological weight of carrying unresolved guilt, anger, and regret. This torturous experience teaches the importance of addressing personal issues and resolving moral conflicts to avoid being crushed under the weight of one's own unresolved negative actions. The teachings encourage individuals to seek liberation through acknowledgement, repentance, and transformation of their negative patterns into positive actions. Screaming Hell, Raurava. The screaming hell is characterized by constant screams emanating from beings who suffer from extreme conditions. It symbolizes the profound isolation and despair that result from harmful actions, particularly those that harm others. The screams are a manifestation of deep regret and the agony of realizing the impact of one's misdeeds. This realm teaches about the consequences of actions that lead to discord and suffering, highlighting the importance of harmony and compassion in human interactions. It serves as a reminder to cultivate understanding and kindness to prevent the spiritual and emotional turmoil that comes from causing pain to others. Great Screaming Hell, Maharaurava. An extension of the screaming hell, the Great Screaming Hell amplifies the suffering and screams to an even greater degree. This realm serves as an intensified warning against particularly grievous actions. It reflects the exponential increase in suffering that can result from compounded unethical behaviors. The great screams symbolize the profound remorse and the amplified consequences that come from a continued disregard for moral conduct. This realm teaches the importance of not only avoiding harm but actively doing good, as the severity of one's negative actions can lead to greater and more intense repercussions. Hot Hell, Tapana. The hot hell, or Tapana, is characterized by extreme heat that continually burns the beings within it. This realm is a metaphor for the intense suffering and purification that can come from persistent negative actions. The heat symbolizes the burning nature of anger, hatred, and jealousy, which consume the spirit from within. This realm teaches the importance of cooling these fiery emotions through the practice of patience, compassion, and understanding. It underscores the transformative power of forgiveness and the necessity of extinguishing the flames of destructive emotions before they cause irreparable damage to oneself and others. Great Hot Hell, Pratapana. Building on the lessons of Tapana, the Great Hot Hell, or Pratapana, presents an even more intense version of suffering. The increased heat represents the compounded effects of particularly severe or repeated harmful actions. This realm serves as a stark reminder of the escalating consequences of indulging in anger, violence, and hatred. It teaches that the more one allows these negative emotions to fester and dominate, the greater and more intense the resulting suffering will be. The lesson here is to address negative emotions promptly and assertively, seeking to resolve conflicts and misunderstandings before they escalate into larger and more destructive issues. Hell of Ultimate Torment, Avici. Avici translates to without waves, indicating a state where there is no respite from suffering. It is considered the deepest and most painful hell, where suffering is relentless and almost endless. This realm symbolically represents the ultimate consequence of a life led completely astray by the most severe moral failings. Avici teaches about the gravity of one's actions and the profound depth of suffering that can result from extreme negative karma. It is a cautionary tale about the importance of moral vigilance and the severe impact of actions driven by cruelty, deceit, and malice. The teachings aim to instill a deep understanding of the moral law of cause and effect, emphasizing that severe consequences follow severe transgressions. Hell of Hot Coals, Padma. In the Hell of Hot Coals, beings are forced to walk on scorching hot coals, symbolizing the painful path that one must walk as a result of unethical living. This realm vividly illustrates the concept of walking through fire to face the consequences of one's actions. It teaches the importance of walking the right path, living a life of integrity, truthfulness, and compassion, to avoid the painful repercussions symbolized by the burning coals. The lesson is that every step taken in malice or deceit is like a step on burning coals. Eventually, it will cause pain and suffering, urging adherence to ethical conduct and conscientious living. Hell of Pus and Blood, Prapada. This realm, where beings wade in pools of pus and blood, represents the repulsive consequences of actions that cause harm and suffering to others. The disgusting environment symbolizes the moral and spiritual pollution that accumulates when one engages in acts of violence or cruelty. The pus and blood can be seen as the physical manifestation of the inner corruption and decay that result from such actions. This hell teaches about cleanliness and purity, both physical and spiritual, and the importance of maintaining them by avoiding actions that corrupt or degrade one's character or that of others. Hell of Fire Pits, Avata. The Hell of Fire Pits is a realm where beings are trapped in pits of blazing fires. This environment symbolizes the deep traps we set for ourselves through deceit, betrayal, and the harm we inflict on others. The fire pits represent the consuming nature of deceitful behaviors and the isolation one faces when they are caught in the consequences of their own harmful actions. This realm teaches the importance of transparency and honesty in our interactions. It warns against the dangers of deceit and the metaphorical fire pits we create, which can engulf us in flames of regret and retribution. The lesson here emphasizes that while deceit might seem a shortcut or a protective measure, it often leads to greater isolation and suffering. Hell of Crushing Stones, Kumbhipaka. In Kumbhipaka, beings are crushed and boiled as if they were grains in a pot. This disturbing imagery symbolizes the intense pressure and torment that result from greed and exploitation. The crushing and boiling process reflects the destructive consequences of exploiting others for personal gain, treating them as mere commodities. This realm serves as a profound reminder of the pain caused by greed and the objectification of sentient beings. It teaches the necessity of compassion and the ethical treatment of all beings, emphasizing that exploiting others leads to severe moral and spiritual degradation. Hell of Cold, Arbuda. Arbuda, or the Cold Hell, features extreme cold that freezes and cracks the skin, representing the numbing and isolating effects of ignorance and indifference. This realm symbolizes how cold-heartedness and lack of empathy for others' suffering can lead to a hardened and isolated state of being. The freezing conditions reflect the emotional and spiritual freeze that occurs when one shuts out compassion and understanding. The teachings from this hell emphasized the importance of warmth, of love, compassion, and connection, and the dangers of living a life detached from the emotional and spiritual needs of oneself and others. Hell of Ice, Nirarbuda. Following Arbuda, Nirarbuda intensifies the cold to a more severe level, where the flesh sticks to frozen iron. This realm symbolizes the deepest chill of alienation and remorse that comes from severe neglect of one's moral duties. The sticking of flesh to ice represents the painful attachments and regrets that freeze one's progress on the spiritual path. It teaches about the consequences of extreme detachment and coldness towards others, emphasizing that such behaviors freeze not only relationships but also one's spiritual growth. The realm urges individuals to melt the ice of indifference with the warmth of compassionate actions and genuine connections. Hell of Repeated Resurrection, Samjiva. Returning to Samjiva, this hell involves beings repeatedly being killed and resurrected to experience death again, emphasizing the relentless cycle of suffering that results from persistent negative karma. This cycle symbolizes the repetitive nature of mistakes made without learning or spiritual growth. Each resurrection represents an opportunity to correct one's path, yet the repeated deaths show the difficulty of breaking free from deeply ingrained negative patterns. This realm teaches the importance of conscious change and moral improvement, highlighting the need for introspection and the adoption of positive behaviors to break free from cycles of suffering.